fail at something, you learn that the thing that you failed was not the path or project for you. So you pivot and move on to something else. In this chapter, I uncover much of what I learned from family life that helped me as an adult later. By failing, sometimes hard, I can now show you how growing up in an environment that was not autism friendly actually did me well in the long run. This chapter also covers a lot of insight into feelings and emotions from the dynamic of being different in a family unit. Socializing challenges. As I mentioned, I come from a family of 3 children, and both my parents are happily married together to this day. It was interesting for me growing up, and that made it easy for my struggles to be overlooked. My brother has epilepsy, quite extreme epilepsy, and my sister is atopic, which means they were both in and out of hospital all the time. And, a fun fact, my brother was born with actually 3 thumbs, and that's kind of cool. So here I am, the third born and youngest in my family of 3. With no obvious health issues, this meant I was, well, and still am, the most forgotten about in terms of support. Between my brother's epilepsy and my sister's atopy, which often caused asthma and allergic conjunctivitis and a whole bunch of other stuff for her, my parents were pretty preoccupied. Given this dynamic, it was often hard to find good examples of socializing behavior. My brother and sister got along and played together well, but they are older than me by several years, so we didn't really get to play all that often together. We would randomly play together, but I needed help understanding the games they wanted to play. I couldn't interact with them in a way that they wanted me to because they were talking about stuff that I simply just didn't understand. My brother is a homosexual man, and he enjoys the company of females, so he had a lot in common with my sister, and they got along well. This left me with not having a traditional male role model in my house because my dad was always at work. My sister was here, there, and everywhere with my brother, so mainly it was just me and my mum, who isn't the most motherly of people in a nice way. So, how did I handle these socializing challenges? Lego. Everything was okay because I had Lego. Lego is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and it's my saving grace. If you will, Lego to me was escapism. It was the way I could create a world where I felt safe just by submerging myself in the idea of building something by hand. I loved Lego. I loved making things. I even transposed from just Lego to building things out of wood and electronics. When I was about 8 years old, I adapted some typical kids' army walkie-talkie, handsets that my parents had given me for Christmas. I adapted them to work over a long range so that I could talk to my buddy whose house was about half a mile away from where I lived. Not only this, I also threw myself into computing. I really, really loved computing technology. I surround myself with computers, video games, and other electrical technical gadgets. My favorite thing was the Commodore 64 and the Nintendo Entertainment System. Like Lego, both gave me an escape from reality to a more basic binary understanding of the world. I could compute because back in the early 90s, everything had to be written in code on a Commodore 64, even word processing. Sensory issues. Being the youngest in a family of 3, I always had the second round of hand-me-down clothes, shoes, and toys. I didn't mind having hand-me-down toys because I was given a lot of Lego sets from my brother and his friends whose parents were like, what do we do with all of this Lego stuff we have? I loved having the toys, but I was not too fond of having the clothes because of all of the genes. I have, among all the other things in my life, a diagnosis of sensory processing disorder, or SPD. SPD causes me to have an aversion to certain types of material, including that of the rusty, rigid denim of the old school jeans from the 80s and the 90s. Yuck. Most autistic people have sensory issues even if they don't have SPD. My mother, a self-taught seamstress, used to make clothes, and she